Welcome everybody to the Quarter Century Soldier, the mini series about my military career, 25 years in the United States Army, here online and for your listening and viewing pleasures. Okay. So if you haven't already, please go back to check the prior years, 2000, 1999, 2001, 2002. This video, we're talking about 2009. So 2009, if you've seen the previous video, 2008, I'm still dealing with the return and the assimilation, the adaptation to being back stateside, to being a normal, everyday citizen whose job it is to be a United States soldier. Like I said in the last video, I was under the impression at that time that PTSD was someone who had flashbacks, who had bad dreams, who had a lot of aggression, who just couldn't cope. And I didn't experience that at all. I experienced a level of irritability, and it was more due to people's focus on negativity, which still holds with me to this day, and people's focus on small things that were non-consequential. If it's not life, limb, or eyesight, pipe down, chill, relax. You know what I'm saying? People were making a big deal out of nothing, in my opinion. And so that, I've come to the realization, was my form of it, my form of PTSD. So in 2009, I'm still kind of dealing with that. I'm not interested in working. Even though I did ask to go to the research center, I got everything I wanted. No, I actually wanted to go to the research center in San Antonio, but they sent me to the research center in DC. So I was like, okay, it's not the one that I wanted, but it is a research center and I'm going to enjoy it nonetheless. And so what I didn't realize is going from a high alert stage to thinking, doing. And now I'm in this unit, this research unit, which is very, very slow. Now, I'm one of those people. I like when days are slow at work. I know people's like, oh, it makes the day go by faster. I'm getting paid the same. Unless I'm working in manufacturing, and the faster I work, the more I get paid. I'm under the impression of I can work slow or not have any work and just sit there, play on the computer all day, and still make the same amount of money. So I'm not complaining. But when I got back, I had no interest in kind of just going to the office every day, dealing with equipment, dealing with egos. The lab is very ego driven. It's about the certifications you have. Where did you go to school? Your experiences and things that you've done like that. I'm not a check resume type person, right? Because I'm more of a character. I'm more of a who you are driven type person. If your personality is cool, you look out for others, you're considerate, you have value, I don't care what you do for a living. In the same way, if you're a piece of shit and you don't look out for other people, you take advantage of, the elderly, or, you're just mean-spirited to people for no reason, it doesn't matter what your job is. I'm just not feeling that. So I'm still dealing with that in 2009. I had been back for a year and a half. Got back in August 2007. So I'm getting adjusted, right? After you've been back for a while, things start to wear off. My irritability started to wear off, and it was kind of business as usual. So in 2009, I'm still working in blood research. We're still looking for new ways to store, transport blood in emergency situations, whether that be for war, whether that be for homegrown emergency situations like natural disasters. In 2009, they did something called let me go back before that. In 2008, something that I missed in the last video, I was the voting assistance officer. And I actually have a photo of me from back then when I was the voting assistance guy. Hold on, let me go get that. I should have my props already ready to go, but I just forgot that I had the picture. This is it. So this is me. Boom. As the voting assistance officer. Boom, look at that. Had hair and everything. So 2008 was the year that President Obama was elected to office. So I take pride in the fact that I was a voting assistance officer, and I was in charge of making sure that everyone that wanted to vote could vote. We're military, so we're able to do absentee voting. So what you do is as the voting assistance officer, I register people to vote in their home state. We're in DC. And so if people are from South Carolina, people are from Texas, they're registered voters in their state. As the voting assistance officer, I am in charge of making sure that I get them their absentee ballots, get them that information. They don't give the votes to me, but what they do is I get them the registration material so they're able to get it and get it sent off to their home state. So yeah, that was me. 2008. Look at all that hair I got on my head. Bow. And the reason why I don't have eyebrows now is because I used to part my eyebrows. So yeah, I forgot that I have like props and stuff like that. I'm gonna have to start adding those just in case people think I'm stolen valor, but no, it's legit. And so, yeah, so President Obama was elected in 2008, and that just made me realize that I was in DC in 2009 for his inauguration. So 2009. Right now in 2025, we're going through this thing with the government and with the federal workers, to where they're going through this efficiency setup, this Doge thing with efficiency, and they're getting rid of a lot of government jobs. While it's never been this extreme, there have been moments where, one, they were downsizing the military. We'll get to that, because I almost got kicked out because of the downsizing. And then we did something where it's called base realignment. We underwent base realignment in 2009, where they streamlined the units. In the research center specifically, because that's where I was at, we had a lot of different sections. And I think, this is an assumption, because this was, we just got word that our department was closing, or that it was moving to another location. And so what I think was they were looking at efficiency of where personnel were, the job that they were doing, and was it cost efficient? So what happened is our blood research department was leaving the building. It was going somewhere else. Now, just because the section leaves doesn't mean that we could leave. So if the section left, or when the section left and went to another building, they were just going to hire people on that side. And so the people that were working in this area now, my blood research department, all of us had to get reassigned to a different department. So that's what we did for 2009, because we got the notification that our department was closing down or moving. We had to do an inventory of personnel, equipment, everything that we had in order to turn it in back to the government. So that used up all of 2009, because it closed in early 2010. Early couple months. So I had like three soldiers underneath me, I had 6 like personnel that I was kind of responsible for. So the job that we were doing basically every day would be like a chief of operations, right? In a company. I try to liken it a little bit to HR because we did do paperwork for people. We did people's pay, we did people's vacation time, evaluations, if they were breaking some sort of policy. So we did HR. That's why, it's a tangent a little bit. The 2 jobs that I would look for if I was actually going to go back into the workforce would either be 1, HR, or 2, operations. Operations, because I'm used to dealing with the daily everything. When you're the operations manager, everything that is happening comes through you. You have knowledge of it. Now, you have people that report to you. So there may be a section for, let's say, budget. There may be a section for logistics. There may be a section for personnel. They may be a section for, I don't know, those 3 sections, right? You have those 3 sections. Those 3 people run it. Finance, budget, they're responsible for the budget piece. Logistics, they're responsible for like the supplies, the vehicles. Personnel, they're responsible for like personnel assignments, where people are working, people's time cards, people's schedule. Now, I wasn't doing that specifically, those jobs specifically. I had a knowledge of how to do it, but I wasn't doing it. But I managed the people that did. And so what it is they would report that information like to me, and I would report that up to the director. And that was pretty much the job that I had for my entirety of my career, once you make it to a certain level. So we have 3 soldiers underneath me. We have 6 other people in the area. I mean, in this section, civilians, and they all have to get redirected somewhere. And we found them new homes, of places to work. And then we had $2 million worth of equipment, lab equipment. We have to go through, we have to service, we have to account for it all. We don't have to necessarily clean it unless we're doing blood research. So we would have to clean things that were, that had fluids on it, right? Body fluids, blood fluids, platelet machines, blood drawing machines, centrifuges, stuff like that would have had some sort of blood, I don't know what's the word I'm looking for, residue on it. So we spent a lot of time doing that and just breaking down the section piece by piece, equipment by equipment, computer by computer, and just, turning it back all into the government until we had nothing left, and it was just us as the people. The people got dispersed into different sections, and that was it. That was the end of the blood research department. So we were a subsection. We were under military casualty research. Military casualty, which means if somebody gets hurt, something happens, a casualty. And so blood research was one of those departments, and that one closed down. I don't remember if the entire department closed. I want to say maybe it did. The entire military casualty research closed down, and then I ended up going to clinical trials, but I'll talk about that in 2010 in the next video, because clinical trials was actually pretty interesting, and I think that's what people think about when they think about like research. When we talk about drug research, take this drug for your pancreas, but it may cause vomiting, it may cause diarrhea, it may cause you to grow a second arm, it may cause you pain, dementia. We did those type of clinical trials to where we were trying to get new drugs out. And, that was actually pretty interesting. So 2009, again, was one of those down years, assimilation, closing down the section to move to another area. And then I actually got a bump up to clinical trials. So I was working for the director of clinical trials. So I got to move up. So it's crazy that though I was so disinterested in working, I didn't have any get up and go. I didn't have that. Let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go. I still ended up getting a position promotion. So that was cool. Not complaining about that. And then also in 2009, I did combatives level 1. Combatives is the military's form of UFC, mixed martial arts, hand-to-hand combat type stuff, jiu-jitsu, kickboxing and stuff like that. So we have an official class, an official certification for that. And I went to level 1, and it would have been okay. It would have been okay, except we did it in the gym. And so we had to put the mats down every day for our class. And, putting the mats down, then you got to warm up. Basically, warm-ups for combatives are tire you out. You run around, you roll, you do like little flips. And it's basically for you to get tired out. The basics behind the combatives, as far as I remember, is they don't want you to use strength. Like someone like me who has a lot of strength, they want you to use technique. And so that's why BJJ is supposed to be used against bigger people. It's supposed to be for the little man, little woman, to use that against bigger personnel. They use their strength and their leverage against them. So they tire you out in the beginning. And so when you're grappling, when you're holding on to each other, when you're fighting, you're not using strength because you're tired. So you have to focus on really good technique, chokes, arm bars, leg bars, ankle locks, stuff like that. And so when you're focused on the technique, I don't need a lot of strength to choke you. I just need to put my arm in a certain place, my hand in a certain place, put your arms in a certain hold to where I would break your shit if you're not going to give up. Right. So I did that for a week and I was so tired because that's all we did all day for a week. And I know people are like, it's a week, it's not that much. Man, starting at 8 o'clock in the morning, you go, and we're in uniform. We're in uniform with tennis shoes. You go put the mats down. We're probably covering a racquetball court with mats. Cover the mat, put the mats down. You're going to do your warm-ups. Probably a class of 15 people. Put the mats down, warm-ups, and then we're learning these different techniques. So basically, we're grappling all morning, starting from 8, and then we go to lunch at 11. So for 3 hours, we're grappling with each other. Boom. People using their strength against you. There's no tired like fighting tired. I've taken kickboxing, Muay Thai, none of that Billy Blanks bullshit, none of that shit in the local gym. Where we had elbow pads, knee pads, we're kicking bags, we're punching legit Thailand mofos. There's no tired fighting tired. Anybody who's ever been in a fight, you're not fighting for 5 to 6 minutes straight. You're probably fighting for a good minute and then you're gassed, right? Because that adrenaline is I'm upset and I'm going to go crazy. And then we're going to start grabbing each other. And then you're probably tuckered out at 45, 30 seconds. So we're doing this for 3 hours, right? You're mixing it up with somebody, switch partners, you know what I mean? So now you got somebody else, boom, boom, boom. So the problem is at 11, we have to pick those mats up again. So we pick those mats up. We come back from lunch at 1 o'clock. Guess what we have to do? Put the mats back down. Put them down. We roll again from 1 o'clock to like 4:30, 5 o'clock, fighting, learning techniques. And then we have to pick the mats up at the end of the day. And we did that for an entire week. I was gassed. I was so tired. I was so sore just because it's just tiring fighting somebody. It's just tiring. But it was a really good class. I wish I could have gone to level 2, but I never got the chance to go to level 2. But yeah, level 1 was really good. It was really good. It was just, if we didn't have to put those mats down the way that we did, I think it would have been a lot more enjoyable. If they had like a dedicated room or a dedicated area. I think they set up a fight house after the fact, of course. They set up a fight house, which was where you went to the school to do the combatives training. So it was just exclusively doing that. It was already set up and you didn't have to pick up mats, put down mats, because we were doing it in the gym. Yeah, so that was the highlight of 2009. We had a couple Soldier of the Year competitions, and I was an evaluator for those. And that's basically like any competition that you would see on TV, where you would be a judge, right? You have this criteria. So we make up the lanes. My lane was, warrior task and battle drills. So our basic soldier knowledge. And so when we have competitions for Soldier of the Year, you have to set up these lanes. You set them up, you run through them, and then you present them to the person leading the lane. So you have a person that's in charge of all of us who are running lanes. It's probably like 6 lanes. So you have that person, 6 of us underneath that person. So when we're finished with our lane initially, before the competition starts, we have to show it to everyone. We have to show what our idea is, how the person going through the lane, how they're supposed to interpret it, what's a go and what's a no-go. And it's basically a point system. And so, I did that. I think I pretty much did that every damn year after the fact, no matter where I went, because I do like competition, even though I never competed in it. I do like being an evaluator for it, because the military is for the young and the bold. That's one of our cadence calls, but it's true. It's for the young. It is not. As we move up, we become more managers, directors, supervisors. So that life of, like I was saying before, of being in the field for 3 weeks, 4 weeks, I was 19, I was 20, right? Once you get like 31, 29, all of those doing physical training every single day, going out to the field, traveling in these vehicles that they have no suspension, so you're just like all over the place. That takes a toll on your body. And so that's why when a lot of us get out, we get disability, because it's a hard life. So as you get promoted, as you move up in the ranks, you do less and less, unless you're just like an outstanding person. For me, no, I did less and less. I wanted to use my mind versus my body and physical skills, right? So I did less and less of the physical activity and more of the planning, more and more of the coordination, of the supervision, because that has always been my goal, is to use what I was doing there, use what I was doing for those 25 years to transfer when I got out. And I'm a person, I like to coordinate. I like to be the center of operations, the operations center, where everyone is feeding you the information of like what's going on, and you have to, receive that information and send it to the right area to where it's going. So you have to really multitask a lot of things, because a lot of it's interconnected. And I'm really good at that. And so that's why I think I'll get into the operations section. That's why I've always liked doing that. But that was 2009. I mean, we were dealing with the realignment, the closing of our sections, the closing of my section, and then having to get reassigned to another one, which was a really big deal. And then DC in 2009, President Obama getting elected, it was a really reflective time. I don't want to say it was festive, but it was definitely a different time period. It was groundbreaking. It was something we had never seen before, first black president, stuff like that. So it was a real kind of celebratory time in different areas in DC. I will say that. And I'm happy to have been a voting assistance officer in that election. There was no funny business. All I did was help people register for, their vote. I didn't receive any votes. I didn't do anything. I just said, hey, you're trying to vote in Alabama. Here is the information that you need in order to register so you can receive your materials, vote, and then send your materials back. That's all we did. That was it. So yeah, we weren't rigging any elections. Yeah, so that's really short. 2009 again. It was a pretty chill year. I can say that. I was really in chill mode once I got back from deployment. I wasn't really trying to do too much. But next year, 2010, we get into the clinical trials and some interesting stories. Some interesting stories from the clinical trials, and that's where I really start to become like a research scientist, doing actual research on people and animals and stuff like that. So we'll get into that. Until then, thank y'all for watching. Please make sure you hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't already. The full video is always being done on Twitch, and I'll see y'all in the next one.